So what could go wrong on an easy 424 miles trip? A few things apparently. So here's the breakdown. I needed to go from Scarborough to Sunderland to Surbiton and then eventually East London. To make it more interesting, I also needed to be in Surbiton at 11 a.m. To make it even more interesting, I need to start my Tesla and charge it whenever needed. The trip actually started early morning with a 100% charge. We had to drive through the North Yorkshire Moor. It's a national park. It's a quite an enjoyable drive, lots of ups and downs and turns. It's quite scenic, except it was in the dark, so it wasn't as interesting. But I guess I saw quite a lot of rabbits and even a baby deer, so that's something. Anyway, we were on our way to pick up a family member in Sunderland, and then we were told that they just needed more time to get ready, so we went to the nearest Tesla Supercharger as we lost quite a lot of charge due to the cold weather. We arrived at the Washington charger, plugged the car, and then I had to go into the main hotel to register the plate so that I can park for free. And then we let it charge till we were told that they were ready to be picked up. So we left with 91% and we went and picked them up. So we managed to pick them up and everything was going well until I realized I forgot something. And that meant I had to go all the way back to Scarborough. This also meant that we were running late, and to make it worse, it was still cold outside. So this meant that I had to drive all the way back through the North Yorkshire Moor, as this was an unplanned part of the trip. That meant I had to stop at another place to charge my car before I reached Tesla Supercharger. So in Scarborough, there is a Podpoint at one of the Lidls, so I stopped and charged for a little bit. Eventually I charged enough and went back home, got the stuff I needed, and started driving again. Heads up, there's still another big problem to face, so stay tuned. Oh, and while you're still interested, please hit that like button and that subscribe button. It'll save you a lot of time. So the next Tesla Supercharger was at the Motor Ferrybridge. I assumed it was going to be just a simple plug in, charge my car and wait, but randomly there was lots of nice sports cars and loud cars just revving the engine as they drove past. Very random sight. So if anybody knows what was going on there, please drop it in the comment. And then as soon as I was walking back to the car, I got asked to help if I can push the car because the car wasn't starting, and I did. I guess that was my good deed of the day. After this charge, I wanted to make use of my battery as much as I can before I go to the next supercharger. And then when I do go to my next supercharger, the plan was to charge as much as I can and then have enough battery to just drive around in London or Surbiton. With that in mind, I found the ideal Tesla supercharger. So that meant the next Tesla supercharger would be at the Welcome Break in Newport, Pagnell, I'm not sure. And this was where my next problem was. I was happy to get to the charger, so I entered the service and then I realized that I missed the charger. So I drove around and it turns out that there is no way to enter that supercharger once you pass that little point of entry, and there was no entry sign, so I wasn't ready to break any laws. It wasn't looking good as well, as we didn't have as much charge. Well, and just to let everybody else know, there were other EV chargers available at that point, but I'm not a fan of using other ones unless I really need to. I can explain more about that in another video, so let me know if you want to hear that. So I went back on to look for the nearest Tesla supercharger, and sadly that was in the opposite direction. So I took on the challenge to test the car and we drove. The range anxiety was real at that point. Luckily, with some calm driving, we got there with 2% charge. That was a massive relief. We arrived at the Northampton's Grange Park Tesla Supercharger. Similar to before, I had to enter and register my car's number plate, and with this spot you only get 30 minutes parking and therefore 30 minutes charge. From there we set off, and again we were going in the right direction, and luckily the weather was getting warmer, so that was better for the battery as well. As we drove near the Newport Pagnell Southbound service again, I decided to go back in. I wanted to just go to that charger and just charge it for at least 10 minutes so I know how to use that supercharger. So I did. After that, we drove to our destination in Surbiton. Sadly, we were a few hours late, but things happen, and the family that was hosting us was very lovely about it. Later that day, I drove to East London and stopped to charge to 100% at the Tottenham's Tesla Centre, and then also visited a few shopping centres, including the Westfield shopping centre. So I can go on an easy 424-mile trip. A few things. Turns out that I did drive a lot more miles than expected, but that's all part of the fun. This is Sinthify. Thank you and see you soon.